In the vast, sun-scorched plains of the American West, where the horizon stretched endlessly like a promise never kept, lived a woman named Eliza Thorne, whose life was a testament to relentless perseverance amidst the cruel whims of fate. Her days beginning before the first light of dawn pierced the sky and ending, long after the stars had claimed their dominion over the night, her hands calloused and cracked from years of wrestling with the unforgiving. Earth that yielded crops only through sheer force of will, her farm a modest patch of land inherited from a father who had dreamed big but died young, leaving her to shoulder the burden alone after her mother's passing. In a harsh winter storm that had blanketed the world in white silence, Eliza rising each morning with a fire in her belly that no exhaustion could quench, her muscles aching from plowing fields that seemed to mock her efforts. With their stubborn resistance, the soil clinging to her skin like a second layer of despair, yet she pushed on, planting seeds of hope in rows that stretched like veins across the parched ground, watering them with sweat that dripped from her brow in rhythmic cadence. Her tools worn thin from constant use, the hoe biting into the dirt with each swing that sent jolts of pain up her arms. But pain was her constant companion, a shadow that followed her from the barn to the fields and back again, her hands beginning to bleed as blisters burst, under the strain of gripping the handles too tightly for too long, the crimson stains mixing with the dust to form a gritty paste that she wiped away, absent-mindedly, refusing to let it slow her down. For the harvest was coming, and with it the chance to pay off the debts that loomed like vultures over her homestead, creditors circling with their demands for payment on loans taken in desperate times when droughts had withered the previous years, yield to nothing but brittle stalks whispering defeat in the wind. Eliza's determination fueled by memories of better days when laughter echoed in the house now silent save for the creak of floorboards under her weary feet, her meals sparse and hasty, eaten standing up to save precious minutes that could be devoted to labor, the sun beating down mercilessly as she toiled through the afternoon heat that shimmered like a mirage, promising relief that never came, her vision blurring from fatigue but sharpening with resolve whenever doubt crept in, whispering temptations to rest, to give up. But she silenced them with gritted teeth and renewed vigor, her hands bleeding more profusely, now as she tied fences to keep out the wandering cattle that threatened to trample her fragile progress, the wire cutting into her flesh like accusations of weakness. Yet she wrapped rags around her palms and continued, the blood seeping through in dark patches that she ignored, focusing instead on the vision of a bountiful harvest that would secure her future. Free from the chains, the sun hung like a molten coin nailed to the sky, pouring heat over the cracked earth until the air itself seemed to quiver and breathe. Eliza Thorne had been in the south field since the first rooster's crow, wrestling with a plow that had grown heavier with every passing year. The iron blade bit stubborn furrows into soil baked hard as pottery, and each time she leaned her weight against the handles, the blisters on her palms split open again. Blood slicked the wood, making her grip slippery, but she only tightened her fingers and drove the team forward another step. Sweat carved pale trails through the dust on her cheeks and soaked the collar of the faded calico dress that had once been blue. She had not eaten since a crust of cornbread at dawn, and the canteen on her hip had gone dry hours ago. Still she worked because the banknote was due in 37 days, because the seed corn had cost more than she could spare, because if this crop failed there would be no next year. No roof, no grave beside her parents under the cottonwood. Rest was a luxury for people who still had choices. Far off, where the plain met the sky in a shimmering lie of water, a dark speck appeared. At first she thought it heat dream or buzzard circling, but the speck grew taller, took the shape of horse and rider, and kept coming. Eliza paused, one hand shading her eyes, the other leaving a red print on the plow handle. Strangers were rare this far out. The stage road lay 20 miles north, and most drifters followed it. Whoever this was had left the trail on purpose. She felt the old wariness rise in her throat like bile. Her rifle was in the house, too far to reach without turning her back on the approaching rider. She straightened, rolled her shoulders the way her father had taught her when facing a mean bull, and waited. The horse was a rangy bay with a white blaze, lathered at the shoulders and blowing hard. The man sat easy in the saddle, reins loose, one hand resting on his thigh near the butt of a worn Colt. His hat was battered gray felt, brim curled from years of weather, and beneath it his face was sun-darkened and lean, cheekbones sharp, mouth set like he'd forgotten how to smile. Dust lay thick on his boots and chaparejos. He reined up 10 paces away, raised the hat an inch in greeting. "Afternoon, ma'am?" His voice was low, roughened by trail dust and whiskey, but the words were civil. "Name's Jack Harlan. My horse is about foundered and I'm short on water. Mind if I trouble your well?" Eliza studied him the way a woman alone learns to study every man. The set of his shoulders, the way his eyes flicked once to the house, once to her bleeding hands, then straight back to her face and stayed there. No lair, no smirk, just tired eyes the color of winter sky. Something in them looked familiar. Not the man himself, but the look. She had seen it in her own mirror too many times.